sabihin ba nito, Attorney Lou, dahil naku, kailangan pala ng ekonomiya yung ng mas maraming tao, lumaki dapat yung population. Ibig sabihin kaya, soon, next year, in 2 years, magluluwag ulit sa immigration policy? Hey guys, you're in a nutshell with me, Ina. Nako, big news dito sa Canada, no? The Canadian economy is technically in a recession. Ibig sabihin po niyan, 2 consecutive quarters nag-decline or nag-contract yung economic growth ng Canada. Ngayon, tinanong si Prime Minister Mark Carney tungkol dito. And one of the factors he mentioned na nag-contribute dito sa recession ay yung paghihigpit sa immigration, which, as we all know, has led to less, immigrants here. Okay? Lower immigration targets, bale. So in this episode, alamin natin, bakit may link, yung dalawang yan, immigration and the economy. Ano ba ang ambag ng immigration or ng immigrants sa ekonomiya ng Canada? Here to explain to us, our suke, Attorney Lou Dangzalan. Hello, Attorney Lou. Welcome back.
No. Uy, teka lang. Klaroin natin kasi yung discussion is on the economy. Siyempre, pumapalo siya sa immigration, pero hindi naman kasi ako ekonomista. Pero, I won't claim to be an expert, pero siyempre, para naman tayo, Ina, na may baseline understanding ng economics kasi nag-cover ka sa Malacanang. Ako din naman, naging journalist din naman on business before leaving the Philippines. So, kung may mga mag-comment yun, unahan ko na, di naman sa wala kaming K, pero pwede naman kaming dumakdak. Kahit konti.
No, but of course, you being somewhat an expert in immigration, alam mo yung papel, di ba? Na ano ang ambag, ano ba ang nako-contribute pag ang immigrant pumunta dito? Their taxes na charge din sa kanila. Obviously, they're also taxpayers. Ano pa ba? Yung expenses nila dito, yung mga international students, yan, yung tuition fee. Yung mga ganyan, okay? Anyway, before we proceed, I will play a soundbite from the Prime Minister wherein he mentioned ito nga na among many things, isa itong lower immigration targets na nakaresulta dito sa ating recession. Okay?
I'll say this about the economy, which is that we're in the process, this government's been in the process of laying the foundations for a stronger, more resilient, more independent Canadian economy. That process is settling in during that time as we make major investments, major changes to how the government operates, how we do major projects, how we have new trade agreements with other countries. As we do all that, the data is going to be uneven, and we see some weakness, in part because of clear decisions by the government. So we have taken back control of immigration. That's meant the population growth has flattened. In fact, it's slowed, or it's been negative for the last 2 quarters. We have reined in government spending, so it had been growing close to 10%. It's growing less than 2% now. So that's also something that weighs on. There's some other choppiness in terms of how investment is happening. But we're also seeing at the same time the foundations coming into place, settling in for that stronger, more resilient economy.
Okay, so parang ang sinasabi rin niya, Attorney Lou, is bahagi ito ng lahat ng mga pinagagawa niya, no? Including, of course, investments in the economy. Nagsisettle in pa lang daw yung mga fundamentals, okay, that they have established para sa mas magandang kinabukasan, in short. Okay, I remember, Attorney Lou, ikaw, you would always look back nung panahon ng pandemic, wherein, yung ekonomiya ng buong mundo tinamaan talaga. And then you would always share with me back then how it was the TFW population, in a way, international students, that helped keep the economy of Canada afloat. In a way, parang ganun yung makikita nating discussion, right?
Did I say that? Baka may magagalit na naman. Pero totoo naman, binalikan ko. Ito yun, no? Ito yung art, share ko lang sa screen, Ina, if you want to share it as well.
Sige, sige.
This is the CBC article on the business back then. Immigration prevented recession last year. And this was posted in October 2024. So after crunching the numbers yan, basically, in 2023, there was an expected, may hinihintay na recession sana yung Canada. Pero because of immigration levels na tumaas nga, nag-kickstart ng mga bandang 2022, 2023, 2024 siguro. Pero sabihin na natin 2023, tumaas yung population ng Canada. So, syempre may mga nag-spend. Of course, I don't know the breakdown of this, but basically, yun nga, tumaas yung population ng Canada. Ang daming nangyari actually. If you look at this article, I do encourage you guys to read it. Immigration prevented the recession last year, meaning in 2023. But looming changes could stall growth. Ito yung sinasabi. Kasi sabi ng government at this time, 2024, ni-revise na yung levels plan. Basically saying na ibababa natin ang immigration. We're gonna claw it back to, under 400,000. And basically, kinaban na yung mga economists. So, I guess, nandoon na tayo sa parte na, ayun nga, saan na ba tayo papunta in terms of the economic growth? And actually, I guess like the economists on the macroeconomic scale, hindi sila nagulat na technical recession ang Canada. And if, interesting kasi yung technical recession, ano bang definition yan? Even in the Philippines, we were always so conscious of this. Ina, anong technical definition ng technical?
Two consecutive contractions. Kumbaga lumiit, no? Yung growth. Hindi naman to zero growth. Lumiit lang yung paglago ng economiya na 2 consecutive quarters nangyari.
Yeah, we need to be careful about that. Diba? Kasi iba yung negative growth, iba yung yung pag-contract ng growth, technical recession, definition. May nabasa ako sa economist na nag-post on LinkedIn actually. Sabi niya, while yun nga, talagang hindi naman nakakagulat na bumaba talaga yung economy ng Canada because lumiliit yung population because of exit nga ng mga temporary foreign workers, international students, etc., etc. The numbers belie something else. Kasi kung titignan mo yung numbers ng technical recession na to, let me just pull out that number. I think parang 1% yung binabata. Do you have the numbers on your end?
Nako, no.
Ito. I have it here. Teka, hold on. Let's go straight to the source para hindi tayo maakusahan dito ng mga nag-iimbento.
Sige, go.
Let's see. Ito, Statistics Canada, released 2026 May 29, so 4 days ago. Sabi dito, 5 days ago. Real GDP was unchanged for the first quarter 2026 after declining 0.2% in the fourth quarter of 2025. Higher imports of goods, particularly gold, were offset by accumulations, business inventory, etc., etc. On a per capita basis, actually, ito yung interesting na gusto ko ibalik. Kasi ang sinasabi, 2 consecutive quarters na bumaba nga, pero minimal lang yung decline. Pero ito yung important. Tignan nyo to. Real GDP increased by 0.2% in the first quarter of 2026 and the population declined for second consecutive quarter of GDP remained unchanged. So parang kokopyahin natin si President Ronald Trump or Ronald Llamas ng paikot-ikot diyan. So sabi niya, huh? Paano ba tumataas yung economy, yung ibig sabihin yung GDP per capita versus what do you call this? Like yung kung bumababa naman yung buong ekonomiya. Kasi 'di ba averages yan, 'di ba? Yung per capita. Yung bawat ulo, kumbaga, it's from Latin, 'di ba? Capita. So bawat ulong bilang parang tumaas pa nga yung kapasidad, yung economic power ng bawat individual kahit na bababa yung population. Interesting, right? So you have to read it in context. Again, I'm not an economist. I'm just looking at the numbers here. I'm just looking at it plainly from the statistical point of view. And itatali natin siya sa immigration. I guess, this is where I come in.
Yeah.
Oh, tama. Balikan natin yung sinasabi natin noon pa na nung pandemya nga, alam natin na, yun nga, nakita natin sa news report na pinakita natin kanina, na in a way, it helped Canada avoid a recession. Everyone was expecting a recession, di ba? Maalala mo yun? Diba? Kasi nga yung inflationary shock, supply chain issues, tapos the economy trying to start up, cost of living pumapalo na rin at that point. Pero because of like the aggregate demand, yung tawag ng mga economists, tumuloy-tuloy pa rin yung paglago ng ekonomiya. Kahit na on real terms, per capita, naging worse off yung mga Canadians, di ba? So it's interesting from that macroeconomic vantage point. Pero from an immigration standpoint, syempre, the common denominator, yung pang-divider, yung divisor mo pala, sorry, is yung population mo. So kung bumababa yung population mo, di ibig sabihin yung nakikipaghati dun sa pitcha pie, kumukonti. So kapag kumukonti yung paghahati sa pitcha pie, edi dumadami yung nakukuha mong pitcha pie. Diba? Yung
Yan. Oh, yun ang magandang explanation, ano. I guess for our viewers, ang tanong nila, no, hindi naman sila into, sige, kung paano naka-apekto talaga sa ekonomiya. But, I think many of them are wondering, so ibig sabihin ba nito, Attorney Lou, dahil nako, kailangan pala ng ekonomiya yung ng mas maraming tao, lumaki dapat yung population. Ibig sabihin kaya, soon, next year, in 2 years, magluluwag ulit sa immigration policy?
Yun yung magandang tanong actually. I like your question because galing lang ako sa annual conference ng National Conference ng Canadian Bar Association for Immigration. May may papakita ako, hindi ko pala pinapublish to. Pero anyway, I was saying, galing lang ako sa Canadian Bar Association National Conference on Immigration, na kung saan ang daming mga panel on TFWs, levels plan. Actually, natin yung mga madami nating friends in the bar from across the country, including Mark Holthy. Part panel on express entry, permanent residence planning, etc., etc. And next lang dun sa panel nila, isang IRCC, basically high-level official. And the very short there is, ang nalaman natin is, may mga susunod pang package of reforms na parating sa express entry. Napag-usapan naman natin siya. Ito yung sasabihin ko.
Ano yan? Oy, na-meet mo pala si Immigration Minister Leyna Diab, ang paborito nating pag-usapan din dito.
Tsaa, ma'am. Tsaa.
Kamusta ang iyong meeting with the Immigration Minister? How did the
lang naman
encounter
yun.
happen?
Nakinig lang ako dun sa speech niya, tapos nagkwentuhan lang kami on the sideline. But I thanked her, merong mga reforms na, it's not an easy portfolio. I'll give it to her. It's one of the most difficult ministerial posts sa Government of Canada at this time. Lalo na because a lot of reforms are happening. Pero balik natin dun sa discussion.
Okay.
Magbabago ba? Mag-stabilize ba? I think in time, it will stabilize. Kasi ganito yan parang pendulum yan, di ba? It swung to one direction, na ang bukas, ang luwang-luwang. So, yung natural reaction is for the pendulum to swing back. Pero I think it swung back too hard. So we're waiting for it to swing back to the middle so that it starts to stabilize. We're still waiting for that. Kasi hindi pa tapos yung packet of reforms. If you're looking for timelines, meron tayong idea, konti. We know that, I think you just had an episode with Dayanara on ONP. Hindi ko pa nga napapanood, may pakikinggan ko. It's about express entry reforms. It's about PNP reforms, basically. Alam natin, nagko-converge sila, napag-usapan na natin yan. Dun sa express entry side, it's interesting kasi it turns out, dinisclose na nila actually during the conference that it appears that the first packet of reforms will come out not early, but late this year. I think they're going to focus on the implementation of the high wage aspect of new express entry, yung reforms. So baka magkaroon ng extra points if you are earning high wages.
Yeah.
And then the balance of the reforms are going to be implemented, I think, in phases next year in 2027. And they should finish up towards the end of 2027. You heard it first here. Okay?
All right.
Ayun, so, mahal na mahal kita, Ina. Hindi ko nilagay sa channel ko, nilagay ko sa'yo.
So, ibig sabihin yun, Attorney Lou, kung doon lang sa discussion natin ngayon, kung inaabangan ng mga tao kung kailan ulit magluluwag, siguro lang, based doon sa sinabi mo, it's not gonna happen until 2027 kasi meron na ngang mga reforms na inaabangan pa, i-execute. Siguro, titignan muna how will that works, right? And then,
I would probably say na in terms of absolute numbers, proportions, kung ano yung binibigay nilang slots for PR and for TRs, I don't think may pagluluwang. Siguro yung pagluluwang, pwede natin masabi, if we're gonna use yung theme natin today is economics, is on the supply side of foreign labor. In other words, maraming uuwi this year. Babalikan ko yung dati pa nating pinag-uusapan. So kapag kapauwi na sila, ibig sabihin yung aggregate supply naman ng potential permanent residents, liliit yung pool. So there is a potential that the competition might loosen, but it doesn't mean that immigration policies themselves would loosen up. I think it's
I
too
get
early to make that call. I think it's still too politically toxic. And actually, yung last plenary nung immigration conference, isa sa mga nag-deliver is one of the former professors that I worked with at the University of Ottawa, si Brendan Chen, who studies migration and immigration at large. And then, of course, one of my mentors, another immigration lawyer, si Mario Bellissimo, from Toronto. Such a nice guy. Sobrang bait niya talaga. And what he said during the plenary was something that took Albert Sonsichon away. Sabi niya, Canadians, there was a survey across Canada. So hindi to hugot marites. There was a survey across Canada and it said, basically in findings, is that Canadians are not anti-immigration, even if like there's a sour mood towards immigration at large right now. But Canadians are anti-immigration policies at the time.
Oh.
Diba? So,
How do
yun
you
nga, dahil nga,
reconcile those two ideas?
when for one, we don't, like, if I were to read that, like, I don't think as a Canadian I would, hit the immigrants. But sometimes, of course, yung Venn diagram niyan, diba? Sobrang, and sometimes the lines are blurred, right? But generally speaking, don't hate the immigrant, hate the immigration policy.
Oo. I think naman yun din talaga. Okay. I
And
think
I
it's
agree, like,
more of yung parang, kaya nga nag-demand sila ng tightening of policies, but it doesn't mean that they
that people are
dislike yung
immigrant.
mga kapitbahay
Correct.
nilang immigrants or
Correct.
temporary workers, no?
I think that's super important kasi yung plenary na yun was a nice roundup of, like, I guess, like, the negative note that a lot of the panels were seeing in terms of immigration in 2026. It is in stark contrast to what I saw in 2025, by the way. Alam naman natin na meron na mga problema noong 2025 pa lang and even before that. Pero noong 2026 talaga parang, okay, it's coming to a head. It's really interesting. And yun nga, nagtatranslate siya sa economy. And yun nga rin yung iniisip ko kanina. Like, inflation is still, like, high in Canada. Ang mahal. Like, I've been in Canada, like, alam nyo naman, paikot-ikot ako, diba? Pero lately, I've been in Canada and ramdam ko, dama ko. Actually, sobrang inaabangan ko talaga, kailan ba mura ang gas? Kailan ba mura ang gas?
Sa gabi.
Talaga,
Di ba sa gabi?
By the way, Monday night. Dati kasi traditionally, Tuesday yan eh. Worst is Sunday afternoon to night. Kasi syempre, mag-tatfo full tank ka mga tao. The best pala ngayon is Monday night, it turns out. Anyway,
ngayon ko lang naisip, no, Lou. Siguro dun sa concerns about magluluwag. Okay. Siguro we need to qualify what magluluwag means, right? Does it mean attracting more, the number, the volume of people? Kung yun, baka hindi nga naman, But in a way, depending on what type of, worker you are, what profession you're in, may pagluluwag na mangyayari in a way. For example, parang ganun hindi ba? And also,
not sure about that. It depends on, if you look at it from the, okay, 2 weeks ago naman, I was at the Kababayan Multicultural Center in Toronto. They had a talk about international educated nurse. Shout out sa kanila. They are doing chef's kiss. Really good work. The issue was, how does immigration look like for healthcare workers, primarily IENs, international education nurses, and pati na rin mga care workers like caregivers, etc. So, ang sabi ko sa portion ko, kasi I was given like 5 minutes to talk about it. So, syempre, diba? Madami kami sa panel. Everyone talked about credentialization. So interesting. Kasi from the perspective of healthcare workers, swerte pa rin kayo. Kasi the programs are actually leveraged in your favor. Siguro mas may challenge lang siguro kung healthcare associate ka, caregiver ka, while it is now considered to be skilled work at Tier 3, yung pagtatrabaho as orderly, for example, meron tayong mga ilan-ilan na caregivers na naiwan sa Tier 4, which is yung mga in-home personal caregiver, diba? Personal support workers na ang pathway nila to permanent residence right now, sarado, diba? Suspended yung pag-intake nila since 2026. Pwede naman magbago yan, pero given that the numbers are there, ganito yan parang ako si Canada, sasabi ko, teka, parang dyan ka muna, ayusin muna, magligpit muna tayo bago dumating yung mga bagong bisita. I think this is the best way to put it. So, in all, if you look at it from healthcare workers' perspective, they're still in a good position. Luluwang yung programs for them, but not so much for food service workers, for
Yeah, no.
example. Even if you're on a skilled position, I had a chance to sit down with Paula Saraza sa Omni News when we were talking about the Tim Hortons story. I think you did one as well, diba?
Yeah.
And I did one, yung parang in-interview ako, tas after that, we walked around Tim Hortons and we talked about my thoughts on it. We looked at the statement. And one of the things na tinanong sa akin ni Paula was, bakit ba nag-aatubili ang mga tao after graduation na nagtatrabaho na sa Tim Hortons as a coffee pourer, for example, food service attendant, bakit ba at ano sila atat na atat sila ma-promote as let's say shift supervisor or assistant manager where possible? It's because those positions are skilled positions, di ba?
Yeah.
And back then, hindi ganun ka tight yung competition. It qualifies you for CEC. And syempre, meron pa rin tayong mga kaibigang immigration influencers, unfortunately, na sinasabi, oh, basta skilled yung position, okay ka na, magka-qualify ka na for CEC. We know now, and more people are better informed, na actually, hindi lang about qualification and eligibility to, but also, you have to think about the competition. Diba? So, sapat pa ba na maging shift supervisor ka sa Tim Hortons? Sabihin natin, to get PR? No, because you're not in the category-based draw. It's not a priority of most PNPs now. So, if, unless you speak French, for example, parang medyo ngarag ka, diba?
Yeah. Oo. So, parang kumbaga, highly, ang daming pwedeng angulo pag-usapan kung saan magluluwag at saan maghihigpit at hindi na magluluwag yung mga ganyang discussion. Pero naisip ko rin yung nabanggit mo kanina, Attorney Lu, na starting maybe later this year, mag-start sa express entry yung pagkuha ng higher earning workers.
High wage, yeah.
High wage workers. Baka dun babawi. That could help. No, yung immigration, yung
let's
economy,
see.
if they were to focus on immigration na ang kukuning mga tao ay high-earning individuals, right?
Well then,
that
let's
means,
have a look.
Higher...
Nakita mo na sure, no problem. Let's have a look. I'm not sure if I shared this with you before. This is the suite of proposals, like reform page 12 yan, express entry reform 2026. Did we ever talk about this? I'm not sure.
We did.
Okay, so at page 26, page 12. Balik tayo sa page 12. Ayan, page 12. And basahin natin mabuti. Potential programs, CRS reforms. Merge express rent entries, 3 federal programs into a single program. Check. We already talked about that. Number 2, simplify the CRS to align with evidence on economic outcomes via amendments to ministerial instructions. Remove certain bonus points, remove spousal points. Yay. Thanks, Mark Colty. Reward job offers, Canadian work experience in high wage occupations, to prioritize selection of top talent, the prioritization of licensure. Meron pa yan. Potential new high wage occupation factor. Parati ka nag-extra sa live ni Ina. Sorry. Si Mama. The rankings, pangalawa na yan. So fun. Hindi ko pa nasasend yung una. Okay. Potential new high wage occupation factor. The ranking system currently rewards quantity but not quality, di ba? Yeah. Canadian earnings as temporary residents are strong predictors of economic success. Syempre nga naman, kung yung sweldo mo is napakataas, diba? Halis ka bang Canada, diba? Parang ganon. The higher the pre-landing earnings the express entry immigrants had, the more likely they were to be employed and earn more post-landing. Immigrants with a job offer in senior management positions earn 3 times the weekly wages of those who had no job offer landing. Kasi paano kung, diba, mga ITA, maging PR ka, wala ka naman trabaho, diba? Versus meron kang trabaho na high. So, it's an outcome. So, the likely scenario is, yung may mga high wage, depending on your occupation, baka may extra points. We have yet to see yung operationalization. Sorry, go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is, baka, imbis na dagdagan yung volume na tinatanggap, which we saw before, ang focus nga nila ngayon, di ba, yung high wage earners, in a way, para ma-balance out yung ambag sa ekonomiya nitong bagong economic policies. What do you think about that? At least for express entry.
I am not sure I understand your question entirely.
Parang
Kasi lahat naman,
dun babawi kasi
it
higher
still
wage
doesn't,
earners means
yeah,
higher
but it's
spending,
still,
right?
yeah, it still doesn't change the number over all of the volume. So, like, I think
Yeah.
we're agreed on that na hindi naman magbabago yung levels plan until we see the new levels plan. Kasi every year naman ina-update yan, di ba? So, baka i-adjust nila yan. Pero on the point of like high wage earning, I think wag tayong mag-obsess on the fact na, oh yan, kukunin natin yan dahil high wage earner. Actually,
Okay.
this is more of an indicator of retention. I'm sure
Right.
na episode mo na yung madaming mga naging citizen na tas nag-quit ng Canada, di ba?
Not
Di ba
yet.
yung
Balak kitang
retention?
imbitahin tungkol dyan, by the way. May bago na namang report kasi na lumabas dyan di ba?
Oh, sila Bernard, di ba?
Mm-mm.
So, yan. I met him, by the way.
Oo. Because of the
He,
higher taxes here, no, among many other things.
yeah, among other
nilipat.
things. Pero kasi, you know, people's equations are so different. And it's interesting. I asked him, kasi, you know, I told him, I could have sworn. And I'm talking about Daniel Bernhardt of the Canadian Citizenship Institute or Institute for Canadian Citizenship. Kasi isa din siya sa speakers. We chatted on the side. I asked him, like, hindi ba meron ng study dati about people leaving Canada? Like, we have trouble with retention. Tapos sabi niya, actually, yes. But our study, sabi niya, their study at ICC is unique in a sense that they are actually the first one to do real data from the CRA for those who sever tax connections to Canada. So, okay, applause mga kaibigan. Pero from their data sets and from their analysis, madami ka magiglean. So yeah, absolutely, we should be talking about this more.
Yeah.
To his point, yung study nila is very important. And, you know, there are other academics. I forget the name of this guy from Waterloo. He's an economist who talks about like express entry and retention. And one of the things that is a problem in Canada is because of the quality of life related directly that springs from, you know, the kind of the kind of jobs that they get in Canada when they land as permanent residents. Isipin mo, kunwari pumasok ka federal skilled worker, 'di ba? Wala kang Canadian experience whatsoever, pero nakapasok ka ng Canada. Tapos because you don't have Canadian work experience, while it's illegal in most circumstances to look for Canadian experience if you're an employer, the reality is they look for Canadian work experience. Alam mo yan, Ina, 'di ba? Ang totoo niyan, itong mga individual na ito na nakapasok ng FSW, less ang chances nila to integrate into society, therefore the quit rate is higher. So isang indicator of selecting people who would be less likely to quit Canada is if they're earning high wages.
Right,
diba?
right. Correct.
So, again, babalik ako dun sa question ko. Ikaw ba naman, Ina, kung ang starting salary mo sa Canada, let's say, $150,000 per year, alis ka? Kahit na taas ng tax, alis ka ba? Diba? Yun yung point. So, it really depends on the context of the question and of the person.
I get it, no? At isa pang separate problem na kailangan asikasuhin yan, yung retention rate ng mga immigrants. Because, di ba, para kay pa itong nagda-tighten sila kung sino ang gusto nilang gawing permanent resident. Kung hindi naman pala maganda yung retention rate ng mga ito, like 10 years down the line, right?
And it's to your point earlier about paano itatahi ang immigration with this economic plan of the current government, right? Like immigration will always play a central or a very important role in Canada's economic planning. Kahit naman saan bansa, titignan nila yung demographics. Oo.
Meron akong list actually, no? Humingi ko ng tulong sa assistant nating si ChatGPT, no? Economic benefits. Simple lang naman economic benefits ng mga temporary residents and new immigrants in Canada. So they fill labor shortages. Okay, sabihin na natin kahit wag na dito sa busy areas, may mga magko-comment dyan Doon sa mga medyo mas malalayong lugar, right? They help fill labor shortages. They support business expansion. Okay, syempre pag mas maraming tao, di ba? They increase consumer demand. Yun, mas maraming tao, there's more consumer demand, more money going into the economy. Okay, tapos obviously they pay income taxes. Their taxes fund public services as well and help expand public services. Yung
Mhm.
international students, for example, they contributed for a time billions of dollars in tuition fees.
Tuition lang yun, tuition lang yun. Oo.
Meron pa rin ambag dito sa housing. Okay, sila ang magpupuno, 'di ba? Mag-i-invest ng mga maraming housing. Sino palagay nyo titira dapat dyan? Hindi nga lumalago yung birth rate, hindi nga tumataas yung natural birth rate ng Canadian.
I
Yung
think
mga
at some
ganyang bagay,
point,
no?
yeah.
So those are the economic benefits of new people coming in, basically.
Yeah, it's really a question of calibrating our immigration policies with our economic needs. I think a
Yeah.
very strong anchor of our immigration program must be, it's not even a need. It must be anchored on the economic needs and realities of Canada and Canadians. Otherwise, you will not have wholesale buy-in by Canadian society as a whole. Kita mo ang bilis umasim ng mga Canadians sa immigration dahil sa maling policies, di ba?
Yeah. Okay. Well, napahaba nga ng gusto nung ating discussion. Thank you so much, as always, Attorney Lou Danzalan, for your insights. Yung kanyang email po, naku, may ambulansya sa labas namin.
Oo nga.
Yung email po niya ay nandyan sa baba. If you wanna get in touch with him, we'll end this episode here. See you guys in the next one. Bye!